Alright, so the reason why I put this warm up here is because what I want to hone in on, phones away, earphones off. What I want to hone in on is that a percent of one value or a percent of a larger value is going to be bigger than a percent of a smaller value. So in other words, and it's kind of obvious, right? 10% of 200 bucks is going to be less than 10% of $2,000. The bigger the amount you're taking 10% of, the more money it's going to be. And that's going to be related to what I'm going to cover today. 10% of 2,000 is going to be way bigger than 10% of 200. That's kind of obvious. You take 10% of a larger amount, whatever, that's going to be bigger than taking 10% of a smaller amount. That idea is what I want you to put in the back burner of your mind, like a cooker, like a crock pot. Because that's going to become big right now when I get into a new lesson today. But let's try it. Let's try number one. I can go to the formula, right? Did this last week. What goes on the bottom right, Ortega?
100.
Thank you. Why though? Thanks. Exactly. Perfect argument. Perfect. That's what percent means. So 10% of 200. You should do that in your sleep by now. Let's cross multiply. Excuse me. Can't resist my good coffee. Cross multiplying. Here we go. 200 times 10 is going to be 2,000 if my coffee is kicked in. And 100 times x is 100x. Let's get x by itself. X is, whenever you have like zeros in the numerator and denominator, all you gotta do is do this. It's 20. It's a little shortcut in case you care. For those of you who care. 20 bucks. That's what 10% of $200 is, $20. That's 10% of 200 bucks. By the way, if you just want a quick way of doing percentages, let me give you the quick way. Just take 10% and write it as a pure decimal. Remember we've been doing it with the interest formula? How would I write 10% as a pure decimal? What would I do?
Move it to the left.
Right, so it becomes, okay, watch, 0.10. And just multiply it by the total. If you do that on a calculator, you get this, 20 bucks. Just a little FYI. That's a quick way if you want to. If you want to find a quick percent of something, like what's 5% of that, or 10% of that, or 50% of that, just make the percentage a pure decimal and multiply it by the total. Did it come out, Ortega? It does, huh? You see? That's why on the interest formula, remember what PRT? We multiply the principal times the rate, like that. That's why it works out, and then times the time. So that's a quick way, just a little FYI. Now let's figure out 10% of 2,000. I'm using Dodger Blue even though they lost last night. Anybody see the game? Valencia, did you see the game? Ortega, you see the game? Moreno? Sandoval. You saw it? Yeah. Alright, I was just gonna get sad. I was gonna send you all to the office for not watching it. Just kidding. They lost nasty. Oh, that was heartbreak. Anyway. 100, 10%. Nice. All right. That becomes 20,000, yeah? Yep. Equals 100x. I'm gonna divide by 100. Look at my shortcut. Boom, boom. So it becomes 200 bucks. X is 200 bucks. So what's the moral of the story? What's the moral of my warm-up? The moral is 10% of a larger value is more money. Look at, it's more money than 10% of a smaller value. Here's a smaller value is 10% right there. which is obvious. You kind of knew that just by intuition. That principle, a percent of a larger value is bigger than a percent of a smaller value. That's pretty obvious. I can teach a baby that. That's going to be huge right now, what I'm going to introduce you to. Okay? Which is compound interest. Compound interest. Here we go. Turn that off. Here's a game plan for the day. So the game plan for the day is 2 missions. We're on credit 2 now. I'm scared. We're moving too fast. Look at C21. Week 2, Thursday. Wow. Credit 1's done behind us. Look, it's right underneath. I want to say, yeah, there it is. All 8 assignments. We finished credit 1 yesterday, so you should, in theory, have 1 credit under your belt. We're going to do a credit check tomorrow, by the way, but you can answer that question on your own. Here we are. Take notes on the live lecture with the note guides. There's 2 note guides I posted right here, but I'm going to give you a hard copy. I got the hard copies right in front of me. I'm going to pass them out. But they're right here in case, if you're by yourself at home and you don't have this, if you're watching from home and you're absent, you can use these 2 note guides and just open them up with Cami, right? You can open these up with Cami and fill these in as you watch the video from home. But you guys have the hard copy, so we're going to use these 2 note guides for my new lecture and new lesson. Okay? So, and then you're going to do the Ed puzzle. The Ed puzzle, I think, is 4 minutes and 4.5 minute long video, and you're going to answer some of the questions. Has anybody heard of Dave Ramsey before? He's a financial guru. He has a lot of wise advice for getting your finances in order, and adults from all over the world call him. He has a radio show, podcast. He's a millionaire, self-made millionaire, because he knows how to deal with mutual funds and accounts and such that we're going to get into that builds with compound interest. You heard of Roth IRAs, annuities, these different accounts where your money grows in a compound way, compound interest, which we're going to get into today. Einstein called compound interest the 8th wonder of the world. And he's going to talk about compound interest here too. It's like a conference, and you're going to answer some of the questions, get at least 20% or higher, and you get at least a 1. This is your DMT though. The Ed puzzle is your DMT for the day. Notes is your R stamp. This is your P stamp. Mark it as done. It's only 4.5 minutes. Use any time, the rest of your time wisely, get some assignments done. Let's rock and roll. While I pass out the note guide, I'm going to play this day in history, and we'll be rocking and rolling. What I want us to do here is title this note guide right here, right on the top. Right on top. Watch this. The magic of compound interest. Now, it's not really magic. It's just a play on words, but it's amazing how your money can grow. This is how you think of wealthy people, how they make money? They work hard, don't get me wrong, but they make their money work for them. That's what separates a ghetto-fied person in their mind versus a wealthy person. A ghetto-fied person gets a check, oh yeah, they go spend it on stupidity. Wealthy person gets a check, they make that wealth, that money work for them and make more money. Stupidity just spends it, not looking forward and not knowing how that money can work for them. That's what we're going to get into now. And the magic is compound interest. Okay? Watch how compound interest works. So let's pretend we have $1,000 in a compound interest account. There's the original principal. Okay, so far so good. Let's say it's going to grow at, let's go 5% interest. So it's going to be 5% interest. There he is. What's up, Rez? So 5% interest. And let's figure out how much it's going to grow quarterly. Okay, so when I say quarterly, so put interest for first quarter. So right there where it says interest for first quarter, this is we're gonna allow it to sit in a compound interest account at 5%, 5% rate and quarterly. So every 3 months. Okay. So go and write that down first, and you're gonna see the match. All right, we leave the $1,000 for 3 months in a bank at 5%. Let's rock and roll. Let's find the interest. Well, remember the interest is PRT. Remember principal times rate times time. So let's do that. So let's see, $1,000. 5%. What's 5% as a pure decimal? Somebody? Don't make me cry right now. Please tell me what 5% is as a decimal.
0.05.
You guys are awesome. How do you guys do it without coffee? You guys don't even drink coffee. You got it. You got it. First quarter is 3 months. How many years is 3 months? 3/12. Reduce that puppy. Beautiful Moreno. 3/12. So 3/12 reduces to what? How much? Give me a nice, beautiful fraction. That reduces to what? 3 times. How much of a year?
A fourth?
A fourth. And I kind of gave it away. Quarter. A quarter is a fourth of a year. So I'm gonna put times 1/4. Rocking and rolling. All right. Let me bust out my calculator. There we go. So 1,000, I'll do it for us. You don't have to do the math for us. I'll do it for us since we're taking those together. 1,000 times 0.05 times, remember the numerator is 1, so I don't have to do that. So I'm going to put equals. Divided by 4. I already know the denominator is going to be 4. Divided by 4. $12.50. So put $12.50 right here. So far, so good. So what's the total amount in the account at the end of the first quarter? I'm going to put Q for quarter. So put amount at the end of, go ahead and put Q, because we're just doing Q's right now, quarters. Put Q's all the way down. So Q will stand for quarter right now for this example. Put Q's all the way down, please. So how much money is this person going to have at the end of the first quarter? So it grew $12.50. So what's the total amount in the bank now? They just let the $1,000 sit there. It grew $12.50 in 3 months. What's the total amount in the bank now? Thank you. 1,012.50. Put that there, please. I trust that makes sense to you in your mind. At the end of the amount at the end of the first quarter, that's how much money is going to be in the bank. Okay? Let's start the second quarter now. The second set of 3 months. We're gonna leave that $1,012.50 in the bank and let it grow, continue to grow. Here we go now. But this time, Okay, I'll put PRT. Look at interest for second quarter is gonna be, it's not gonna be $1,000. It's not gonna be the 5% of the 1,000, it's gonna be 5% of the new principal, which is now this. So we're gonna take 5% of the 1,012. Look at 1,012.50, 0.05 times 1/4. You see this? We're not going to take 5% of the bigger amount now because the money has grown. We're not taking 5% of just 1,000 now. It's 5% of the 1,012.50. So let's see how much it grows now. Okay, here we go. 1,012.50 times 0.05 equals, divide that puppy by 4. So it grew a little bit more than the first time. It's now $12.66. Put that with me. Trust you guys are seeing this now. So what's the amount at the end of the second quarter now? Well, let me get my calculator out. 1,012.50. So I'm going to add this and add this. The previous balance, the previous amount that was in the bank at the end of the first quarter, plus now the interest right here at the second quarter. Let me add those puppies up. There we go. 1,012.50 plus 12.66. So at the end of the second quarter, here we go now. We have 1,025.16. 1,025.16. All right, third quarter. So third quarter now, principal times rate times time. So it's going to be now not 1,012.50, it's going to be 1,025.16 times 0.05 times another quarter of a year. What's the interest now? 1,025.16. Do that again. 1,025.16 times 0.05 equals, divided by 4, $12.81. It's grown. So the interest for the third quarter is $12.81. That's how much it grew. Okay, so what's the amount at the end of the third quarter then? Well, I'm going to add up now. I'll add up the end of the second quarter's money plus the interest for the third quarter that it grew, and I'm going to have a new amount. 1,025.16. 1,025.16 plus 12.81. I have now 1,037.97. So I want you to see the snowball effect. The 5%, it stays the same every quarter, but we're taking 5% of a larger amount more and more. That's the magic of compound interest. And this is only $1,000. when you're talking about multiple thousands of dollars in an account like this, the snowball effect starts getting crazy. And that's what the ed puzzle is about today. It's like a mathematical explosion of money. Once you start getting enough momentum, it's amazing. Let's finish this table though. Let's go up to the third. This is the last one for now. Interest for the fourth quarter. Let's see, wait, do I got third? Yeah, let's do one more. Here we go. Principal times rate times time. So 1,037.97 times 0.05 times 1/4. I'll do the math for us. I'll press the calculator button. Here we go. $1,037.97 times 0.05 equals, divide that puppy by 4, 1297. So at the end of the fourth quarter, which is be 1 year now, at the end of 1 year, I'm going to add up what I had at the end of the third quarter plus the interest now for the fourth quarter. So at the end of the fourth quarter, I have, here we go now, I have 1,037 plus 1297. So I have 1,050.94. $1,050.94. So that's the end of 1 year. I'm not going to do the fifth period. We don't need to do the fifth period. So you can see that our money grew by $50 in 1 year. Okay? Now, this is compound interest. Every quarter when the money grew, it grew on the previous principal's amount plus the interest, the previous principal's amount. It's like a snowball. The interest is growing on the previous growth also. Now, get out your other sheet really quick. Let's compare simple interest versus compound interest. You'll kind of get what I'm saying right here in the next one, watch. Get out the other one. That looks like this, simple versus compound. So up till now, we've been doing simple interest. Yesterday, the day before that, with the interest equals PRT. That's simple interest, what we've been doing. What we're doing now is compound interest. So watch this. What I put, original principal was $1,000. Let's compare. Put 1,000 on both, simple and compound. Let's compare the growth of both. Simple interest is 5% is going to be taken out, so both are 5%. Okay? But every period, after every period or quarter, since we've been doing it in quarters, the 5% is going to be taken out of 1,000 only every time for simple interest. As opposed to compound interest, the 5% is going to be taken out of the previous interest growth. Let me show you what I mean. The interest for the first period for both was $12.50. Remember? Look at it, it's right here. From the previous table. So the interest is going to be $12.50 for both. I'm going to put $12.50. $12.50. So the total principal after the first period is $1,012.50 for both $1,012.50. So far, so good. So after the first quarter, simple and compound look the same. But now look at the second quarter. How much did it grow for the compound in the second quarter? Let's see. It grew 1266. For compound, the interest for the second quarter was 1266. But for the simple interest, it's still going to be 1250. Because I'm still taking 5% only of the $1,000, not the 1,012. Look at the difference there. For the compound interest, I'm taking 5% of this amount. For simple interest, I'm going to take 5% of the 1,000 the whole time, all the way down the table. So let's see, what do we got now? So what's the total principal after the second period? So for the simple interest side, I'm just going to add up this and this. So that'll be 1250 and 1250 make 1,025, huh? Yeah. 12, yeah. Whereas over here on the compound side, the total principal after the second period we found was 1,025.16. See, the second period, I'm just copying from the first table, right? The end of the total principal after the second period was right here, 1,025.16. And I'm putting on the second table, just so we can compare simple interest versus compound. So look at already after the second period, compound has more money than the simple. Because, again, the 5% is being taken out of the previous interest. And you'll see it even more pronounced than after the third period. Let's see. Interest for the third period on simple, again, is only going to be $1,250 again. Because all we're doing on simple interest is taking 5% of the original $1,000. Nothing more. So notice how the interest just stays the same every month. It's just growing at $1,250. $1,250. Second month. $1,250. Third month, $1,250. It stays the same, simple interest. But for compound, the interest keeps growing because it's interest upon previous interest growth. Watch. So that's the interest for the third period. We got 1281, right? Right here. 1281. We already calculated it. So let's put that on that table. So 1281. Right, Perez? So the total principal in the simple interest account is going to be 1,025 plus 1,250. $1,025 plus 1,250 is 1,037.50. But at the end of the third period for the compound was 1,037.97. $1,037.97. So it's slightly more growth in the compound now, but later on, after a few years, the growth is going to just take off from a compound versus simple. So you can see you have more money in a compound versus simple only what, 47 cents more. That doesn't seem like a lot, but after many years, the explosion takes place. And that